We're sitting here in the McCormick Center in Chicago, Illinois, talking to Mark Trahant, the editorial page editor of the Seattle Post-Intelligencer.
That's right, thank you.
And Mark's a member of the Shoshone-Bannock tribe out west because we're in the Great Lakes area, but we want to tell me a little bit about what you're seeing going on with the 2008 presidential campaigns. We came through a heck of a primary season, and now we're into the final run here the next couple months. Tell me what you're seeing going on in Indian country.
Well, here's an exclusive for News from Indian Country. One of the most interesting things about this election hasn't been written about yet, and that's the number of natives in key operative positions in the campaigns. It started in the primaries. Laura Harris, Comanche, was in charge of the southern operations for Bill Richardson, a key staff job, but it's continued through. Jossie Ross of Blackfeet is head of the Montana operations for Obama. So I think this election is different in a lot of ways, but the one that just excites me is you've got Native people in the key campaign jobs where they can actually make a huge difference in terms of strategy and implementation.
Made a big difference in terms of the endorsement of Jonathan Windyboy, very prominent powwow circuit person, endorsing Obama very early, and a visit to Crow Agency, which was unprecedented.
Well, and I didn't even get to that yet. This campaign has had people on the ground bringing people to Indian country from, a lot of attention was to the Crow adoption and the visits to South Dakota and Montana, but it started before that. It started almost from the very beginning, and I think really a year ago with Prez on the Res. And it's true that Clinton and Obama didn't participate, but it changed the tone from then on. Clinton went from there to NCAI. Richardson basically chastised both of them for not being there, but the tone was set that Indian country mattered in this election. And from then on, it was part of the narrative, which is great. This is the first time.
Hillary Clinton seemed to be out of the gate with some of the most prominent endorsements on the Democratic primary ticket, but McCain has his long-term supporters. Wasn't it a season where Indian country would win no matter what happened?
Oh, that's exactly
and a
true.
woman of color?
Yeah, I think it's exactly true. All three of the candidates would have been better than certainly what we have. The one thing about McCain that I think a lot of people are starting to question is that he was such a strong supporter over all the years until the last 2 or 3. And he introduced legislation to overturn a Supreme Court decision on gaming. And that was very anti-sovereignty. So for all his years of support, it's not quite as strong as it used to be. Barack Obama has Nevada is a really good example. There's a YouTube video of Barack speaking to tribal people in Nevada before the caucuses about, 8 months ago? Before, again, not too long after Prez on the Res, so it was still part of the early narrative. And what they did there was they went and organized communities for the primary, and Hillary got all the attention because she won Nevada, but he got more delegates in Nevada. And he did it by going very local, very under the radar, just the strategy of this campaign has been very interesting to watch.
One of the perspectives that I had when I was being asked about that, right away it seemed like Hillary had a lot of the traditional tribal leadership, which made sense from the first 8 years of the Clinton years. And yet, what I've heard very often is that Indian country looks up to orators. And people were drawn to Obama in part because his speaking capability. Do you think that had a lot to do with that, or is it just the inspiration that he seems to generate?
I hadn't thought of that before, but that makes some sense because you think about, particularly with peace chiefs, and what drew people to it was oratory. And maybe the sense of getting away from the command and control that we've had the last 8 years and looking for somebody who gets us to do something we know we ought to do rather than waiting for somebody to do it.
True. Where do you think now, at the News from Indian Country website, we're showing the polls about 80-20 right now for McCain. That kind of surprised me. I thought McCain would have a better survey rate, in part because of the veteran status, in part because of the issue of him having been there quite a while compared to Obama, but that's what the polls. Now, we may be generating a younger crowd on the webpage.
Right.
What do you think the trends are right now in Indian country? What are you hearing?
Oh, I think Indian country could be decisive. I think Indian country could help. Well, I'll just go out on a limb. I think Obama has the potential to carry Montana, Nevada, and Arizona. Arizona is a really long shot, and New Mexico. And all four of those states, if he does so, it will be because of Indian country.
You even look at the state of Wisconsin, which went for Kerry by about 1.2%. And when you look at the native population, the Obama campaign is on the ground in Wisconsin organizing already, registering voters,
Right.
getting people certified. It's really different. It's 2 months ahead of the Kerry presence.
Well, and the new voters, I mean, that's a whole new phenomenon that we haven't seen before in terms of not just getting them out, but getting them inspired and having them vote.
What's the internet going to do for candidates?
This has been a classic internet campaign. Campaigns in the past, and Hillary is so good at this, were command and control, where you had a top-down, you had lieutenants carrying out policy and decisions. Obama's campaign has not been a hierarchy. It's been a web-based network where people network with each other, and it's much broader. And I think in this environment, it's just extremely effective.
Has the post-intelligencer either endorsed one candidate or another? Are we expected to hear something from them?
We'll probably endorse after August.
Any hint about where they're leaning or anything?
Well, I can say this. It's if you look at our history, you have to go back a long ways to see us endorsing a Republican.
Thank you, Mark.
Very good.